Hey everyone, welcome back to Navigating Gluten-Free. I'm Fawn, and here we are just trying to figure out how to navigate this gluten-free life together. Okay, I know, this flour is not gluten-free. Don't worry, I know. So what we're going to do today is we actually are going to get behind the science of what the flour is all about. We're going to see how much it weighs. We're going to see how much water we have to add to it to make it get to different stages so that we can kind of see what we need to do to change up the flour for when we do gluten-free baking. So if we really want to know what we need to do for gluten-free baking, we have to start with the gluten. So I'm going to get all geared up and I'm going to put some safety stuff on because I don't want to get this stuff on me. And then we are going to just go into that. We're going to put a cup of flour into this cup here, and then we're going to add a little bit of water at a time. Now I have all this stuff here to do it by volume and by weight. So we're going to measure in grams and ounces here, and I will have all this information in the blog post, which I'll list down at the bottom, so that you can go there and get all of the data at once. Now we're doing this for a bunch of different flours that contain gluten. We're also going to do it for a bunch of flours that do not contain gluten, the gluten-free flours that we want to cook. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right, guys, thank you for your patience, even though it's just a second there. All right, so what we are doing here now is that we are going to use the bread flour, okay? So let's go ahead and get this bread flour all opened up. Let's see here. And I'm not in my own house, so had to get kind of a weird setup here. I did not want this anywhere near the food I feed my family. Okay. Next time I will open it off of camera. Okay. So what we are going to do first of all is we are going to get just a nice cup scoop here, right? And let's go ahead and turn this scale on. Now, before I did all of this, so it's all tiered now for the scale, but I actually weighed the cup measure too. So I do know what that weighs. All right. So our bread flour weighs, it's 7.4 ounces. And how many grams? Let's get those grams in there. And we are at 210 grams. Okay. Now we're going to add it into our bowl here. And then we'll just set this stuff to the side. And then we're going to go ahead and take this water and we're going to add just a little bit at a time. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to add a teaspoon here, okay? So this is bread flour. I am going to add 2 teaspoons here to start off with. And the first measure that we're trying to get to here is we're just trying to get to the one where it crumbles apart. Let's see if we can make that happen. This is the second one of these experiments that I've done. And the first one did not want to do that, but that was the gluten flour. That was the one that is called just gluten flour. Okay, so we're getting some crumbles in there now, but it's not sticking together as much as I'd like it to, because we're trying to get it to that point where it holds together. But see, that one's just still too powdery. Okay, so let's add another couple teaspoons. So this will make it 5, and we'll make it 6. Okay. So let's get that all mixed up here. Yeah, I think that this is probably going to be that texture that we want. Yeah, it totally is. Okay. So, see how it's sticking together but falling apart? It's like we touch it and it's going to just crumble right apart, right? Okay. So, we're going to measure this again. So I'm going to go ahead and write down that we needed 6 teaspoons. All right. To get to that crumble, we needed 6 teaspoons of water. And now our bread flour here, we're weighing 223 grams. And let's get that in ounces. 7.85. All right. All right, so now we are going to make it into a dough. So I'll be able to actually take it out and knead it. Is the whole goal. So let's just add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And let's try to get that mixed up here. Because we are going to need a little bit there to get it to really pull together. And this water that I'm using is not hot. It's room temperature water. I took it out of my sink a few hours ago and just let it sit. So it should. All right. So that's coming together pretty well. We need a little bit more. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so we've got 10 here. Oh yeah, that's really coming together, see? Oh, you can tell I'm not used to dealing with gluten. Whew! Look at all of that. I don't even know how to mix things that have gluten in them anymore. Been gluten-free for almost 9 years. Have to have some kind of big celebration when I hit those 10 years. Something. All right, so I think we're actually kind of there. Okay. Oh, maybe we need just a couple more. Here, let's just put a couple in the bottom here. 1, 2. Okay. Let's see what that does. I don't want to lose any of this. Just going to use the hands here at this point because that's how you're going to need to bring it together for a dough. So I'm at 12 teaspoons so far, in addition to the 6 that I needed to get it to that crumble stage. And I think that I'm going to need just one more. So this will be 13, I believe. To go back over the footage later and make sure for our scientific records here. But we also have our weights that will be so great for measuring. So this scale, so all this stuff that I'm using here, I'm not using any of this in my kitchen because I can't have it covered in gluten like this and then continue to use it. Okay, so this is a very stiff dough, but I think that's where we want it to be. So we're talking about just like a really stiff dough that's pulling apart. Okay, so that was 13 teaspoons. Oops. So that's 13 teaspoons. And now let's go ahead and weigh this again. And again, I've measured out the weight of the containers and everything, so I'll take those off for the one that I put online. And don't forget to click down below to find that link. So I've got 9.65 ounces for the dough. 9.65 ounces, okay. And let's see, 274 grams. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to make it into a batter, okay? But we're going to do like a really thick batter. So I think that I want to abandon my teaspoon for this. And let's go ahead and use this 1/4 cup measure, okay? All right, so we're going to measure 1/4 cup in there in the first place. All right. Now, this is the second one of these that I'm doing. When I did the first one, I used the gluten, the vital wheat gluten, I think is what it's called. And that would not even come together at all into any kind of a dough. So, let's see what we've got going for this. So I'm adding a second 1/4 cup. And let's just go ahead and see if we can break this up here. Now this is a bread flour, so the gluten content in bread flour is really high. And that's why making gluten-free bread is so difficult, because they use that gluten really to stick that bread together and to make that soft and stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna work this around here. I think this might be the right amount of liquid. I don't want to add any more. Just need to break this up a little bit. Not the most appetizing looking, is it? That gluten really wants it to stick together. Well, this is kind of interesting, getting to do all of this stuff with the gluten, because it's just been so long since I've really used it in any way. Got all my safety gear on though, so hopefully I won't get sick. And I'm not doing this in my home, so hopefully my family won't get sick. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, this is definitely the amount of liquid that we're wanting here. So this is still breaking up, but you can see that it's a very thick batter. And that's what I wanted to test here. I wanted something that was going to be a very thick batter, like bringing it to like that cake batter consistency, or maybe like a bread that you're going to have be very thick. Now I don't know what kind of what you would use for bread flour that would make it thinner, but I do want to just test it out so that we have all the numbers, okay? So let's go ahead. So we added half a cup of water, and oops, we are measuring here. So we've got our grams going first. We've got 376 grams. And our ounces, we've got 13.3. All right. And now let's go ahead and we're going to try to make this into that thin batter. I'm going to try to mix this up a little bit more. The problem is that you got the gluten in there, and so you mix it up more and you make that gluten activate, and then it wants to stick together even more. All right, so let's go ahead and add another 1/4 cup of water. And I think that's probably going to do it to make this into a thin batter. So remember, for the thin batter, what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to find something like a pancake batter, a crepe batter, so a little bit thicker than a crepe batter, really, because a real crepe batter is pretty